All right. Well, thank you for spending some time with the Tincanland Music Blog. We're in Liverpool for the Americana Festival. Americana 10, I guess. So if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Richard Buckner, and I'm Americana.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the new album today quite a bit, and not enough to get the lyrical gist of it yet. But
there's no gist.
But musically,
it's a word puzzle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Now, you got all single word titles. What's that about?
Well, the titles came last, and it came last after I put all the songs together. I knew what order the stories were going to be in, because I wanted there to be a certain story throughout the entire record. So I knew what order it had to happen. But the titles came last because the images in my mind about the songs came last. And when I looked at them afterwards, I was like, well, these are all kind of prison. This is all prison terminology or something. What's going on with me? Why am I talking about? So I have no idea.
So sort of move down here a little bit. Sorry,
yeah, sure.
I just realized I was standing under a vent.
Oh, okay, yeah. Plus the children over there.
Yeah. Right. So the one-word things you were saying.
They just came out of the last images I had as I put the record together. A lot of times the titles will be first, or they'll just be there when the songs are finished. This time, as I put the songs together for the final version, there seemed to be a thread in my own mind through all the songs from start to finish the record. A journey from the first part of the album where the person wakes up and they realize they're screwed, and the end where they look back and think, well, I'm back where I started again, which is what happens to all of us. Mm-hmm. We're all the snake eating our own tail. So when I went back to review the songs, I realized that they had a different meaning for me, so I retitled everything at the very end, which I don't usually do.
No. Now, it's been a couple of years since you've had an album,
Mm-hmm.
and there was some problems with getting signed, or...
No, I had a record deal. It was about my equipment breaking down.
Oh, okay.
I have very basic recording equipment, and I work kind of in my own little house sometimes. And I had equipment breakdowns, I had my house robbed, I had a few other things where the outside world kind of stepped in and put its boot up my ass a few times. And so it took me a while to finish the record. But in between that time, I released one record, worked on a film score, and did a bunch of individual song projects while I was working weird day jobs. So that's about as much time as I could do and still get the little sleep I usually get.
Mm-hmm. Is it a better album for having been spaced out over a couple of years, do you think? Or?
Somebody just asked me that earlier today, and I think it is. I mean, along the way I realized, here's what I want to do, that's not happening, how can I fix this? Okay, I'll give myself this handicap. I won't let myself play 6-string normal tuning guitars, I'll move to tenors, upside down strings. Okay, now I'll do this. Instead of using a guitar on that, I'll use a weird keyboard through some pedal that makes it sound like a keyboard instead of a guitar or something. So I think even though mistakes were made and breakdowns happened, that working around those things was good. I mean, I always try and give myself handicaps when I'm working, because it takes me off of autopilot and makes me do things I wouldn't normally do. So if a disaster happens, man, it's depressing, but maybe it takes you in a direction you wouldn't normally gone into, and you have to keep that in context, especially when you're looking at art kind of projects.
Mm-hmm. I thought musically it was quite interesting. The first time I listened to a new record, I just sort of put it on, and quite often I'll be doing something else, and I just sort of let it come over me, and then start paying attention to the second, third, fourth.
The record takes patience, I think. It's not something you put on and you go like, man, that makes my butt wiggle. Yeah. It doesn't happen. I think it's a thing that takes patience, and I think people need more patience. I think, I didn't make it because people need things. I made it because I don't have their hobbies. But I think, for instance, some stupid magazine asked me, send us to your 10 songs why you like them, da-da-da-da-da. Okay. So I made a list of things. I put things, not hipster shit, I put stuff in there like, Hazel Atkins acapella song, Ralph Stanley acapella song, Pat Metheny, Tom Verlaine. And they set back a thing, some little bitch-ass punk writer. Hey, could you give us something a little more upbeat, please? Well, fuck you. I'll send you a fucking Corona and a beach ball. Fuck you. I think things need patience, and there's a culture growing. I sound like an old guy, where patience isn't as revered as it should be. Things aren't immediate.
In terms of both listeners and artists?
Listeners, artists, readers, people who just want to sit down and think and not turn on, the Kardashian show. There's a lot of patience. There's no immediate payoff. Is exactly what it is. It's an immediate payoff, and there's nothing left at the end. And patience just draws it all out, and along that way you pick up some of the things you wouldn't normally get. I think that's something that's disappearing. But I don't want to sound like an old guy. Back in the old days, I don't want to sound like that, but it's fucking true.
Well, and also when you put it on, you go, okay, here's an Americana album, and then you start listening to it, and it's not really. I mean, a lot of Americana isn't. I mean, it's not what people expect anyway. But it's not really, drunk in a bar and all these. My baby left me and into that. And musically, it seems to be very exploratory. Partway through a song, you start to go almost like on a bit of a tangent, and then bring it back, almost like in a jazz construction.
Well, that's how we think. I mean, you walk down the street, and that's exactly how things are. You're walking, you're thinking, and then something catches your eye. Some comment by somebody, or some guy talking to his girlfriend, or something, some kid being yanked around, and you go back to your world. And I think that's how like the normal mind thinks. There's no straight line to anywhere. Along the way, these things pop up you're aware of, and they go away. And maybe they don't make sense along the way, but in the big picture, they do. It's like the waves, like the tops of mountains. They're just like the biorhythms of the human body. Strange waves and signals that you can't control and make no sense, but somehow make sense in hindsight sometimes,
It's funny you mentioned patience, because I was going to ask, this will be the last question, but I was going to ask you. People see, to me, artists are putting out albums too quickly. It seems to be like you have to have one out every year to stay in the public mind. Maybe that's because of the internet or something like that. And a lot of them just seem a little incomplete. A little bit rushed, and sort of they start becoming a little bit formula because, here's the new whatever. Would you agree with that, or?
I agree that you need to give yourself a break. You need to figure out what's going on in your life. You need to take time to think. There's artists that I love a lot that I buy all their records and they're great, and then I just lose interest after a while because they haven't taken any turns that are challenging my ears anymore. I also think you can get on a rhythm sometimes with your work where you don't not that it's wrong, but you don't give yourself a break. You don't stop and think about what you're doing. You're just like, I want to get this project done, I believe in it, but you really need to step back sometimes and look at what you're doing. I've had advice over the years from various people I respect that I take to heart. One of them was, take your workspace and change it around completely. Move your desk to one side of the room to the other. Take instruments out and put them somewhere else and bring new ones in. To wipe the slate clean so you don't get on autopilot. Or, give yourself a weird schedule that's different than your normal schedule. Things that upset your natural rhythm I think are very good because it opens up your eyes and makes you see things in a different way. I mean, as far as people putting out records regularly, I can understand why. You get on a rhythm, make a record, tour, next record, tour. If I don't put a record, I can't tour. Can't get this. But in my mind, it doesn't matter because no matter what you do, there's always going to be some like little, non-Rilke reading critic who doesn't understand what art criticism is. Who's not going to take the time to explain it to himself, and will put it down as nothing when it actually is all art, and you should. It should be appreciated because it's work, and it's like a lot of people I know, a lot of musicians I know, like, all right, I got a record, it got good reviews. That means the next one will have shitty reviews because that's just the way it works. That's just the way it goes. People want to flump up their chests and show that they have some sort of a fucking opinion about something. And we all do, but that's not the point of criticism. That's not the point of art. The point is to keep creating so we keep moving. I know we don't become stagnant like with a dead look in our eyes with nothing around us that's appreciated for any reason at all. I think the fact that people are putting out a lot of records is really great, but give yourself a break, man. Don't take yourself to the grave doing your work too. But it's hard to do because I mean, I'm no one to talk. I mean, I have no other hobbies. You know, if I'm not working on music or doing fiction writing or drawing or whatever, I'm probably talking to my cats or, you know, wasting time doing something else. I saw a documentary on, I forget his name, a famous composer though. I'll think of his name tomorrow probably. But one scene is of him sitting on his couch. And he's kind of looking off. And it's for like a minute or so. Then he goes, this is work. It doesn't look like work. I mean, you feel guilty because you don't think this is work, but this is work. And things that are flowing underneath me are churning right now. And maybe a year, maybe 2 days from now, maybe 5 years, this will come to the surface. But this is work because I'm thinking it all. And it's very important to keep that in mind as an artist, or anything, I guess. To not think of yourself in negative terms. If you're just sitting there not doing anything, you're not lazy. Man, things are churning, things are fermenting, you know. And it's hard to keep that in mind because there's a lot of social pressure against art and artists. It's seen as laziness, I think, to a lot of people, or some sort of debaucherous avoidance of regular manual labor or whatever it is. But it's all work, and if you keep that in mind, I think it pays off in a strange kind of way.
Good way to end it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, man.